wow, I feel like I'm just like you guys. You know, listening to the statistics and listening to the stories, it kind of made me feel like about 4 years ago, what was my role? What was my role? I heard about all this stuff. I heard about the statistics. I heard about the need. I've been traveled even all over the world working with these migrant workers. I was the type of person that would go to the factories and I would yell and scream and be that typical American businessman saying, how fast and how cheap can I get these goods? Because all I wanted to do was make money. So yeah, God blessed us with that. But then, what did we do with it? That's what I asked myself. What did I do with all the things that God has given us that I promised that I would do in return? If he gave me, if he blessed my company, I would give back. But I didn't. In fact, my life got worse. Had family problems, marital problems, relationships with friends. Everything fell apart. But later on, as I started putting these pieces together and I got back and I kind of reconciled everything, I started to realize that God wanted me to do something different. So then one time when I was in China, God really broke me down. I was in the hotel and God just said, you're going to serve these people that you have been dealing with and you've been working with and you've been putting down. I used to look at them just as machinery. How come they can't work faster? Why? You guys are China. And, you know, look, I'm third generation. I don't even speak Chinese. So to me, I like really say, hey, can't even relate, even though we had the same skin color. So it was really difficult for me to accept that. But then now, after 4 years of God telling me that I was going to serve in China, and my wife confirming that, on that same trip that I came back, she told me that God had told her that I was going to be used in China. But the thing is that she said that I was going to be used. It wasn't us. So right now, we're still going on that journey of doing it together. And we haven't got to that point yet. But, so then we started thinking about it. And I started, this idea came up when Tom and Katie from China Source, we said, let's put together an awareness act about migrant workers. And I would struggle every time thinking like, well, how could we express ourselves about migrant workers when there's so much stuff going on here in the USA? You know, we have homelessness, we have hunger, we have victims just like they're all over the world. And then I realized that we can make a difference and build up some type of connection. So what we decided to do was create an awareness that gave recognition to these migrant workers. And that's where we came up with Faces Behind the Labels. Faces Behind the Labels gives everybody the understanding that somebody, one of these migrant workers, the story that you're going to hear in Interpret Dance, and the stories that Brent was able to share, and the stories especially that Chuck was able to give, they are the people that are making the clothes that we enjoy to wear, making the tables that we enjoy to eat on, the beds that we're able to sleep on, the blankets that we're warmed up with all the time. Those are all made by somebody. And when you hear about that floating population, 250,000 people, 250 million people a year float around. I just took it as a number. But do you know how many people are in the USA? 303 million. So think about the whole USA lifting up at one time in 1 year, roaming around looking for jobs, leaving their rural areas, going into these urban cities at the average age of like 15 to 18 years old. They get lost. They don't know what to do with their lives. They lose their identity. They get involved with all the things that Brent talked about. And what are we going to do about that? So what Chuck has introduced to me was about community centers. Putting community centers together and strategically planning them in certain areas where these migrant workers could have an opportunity to be loved on. And it's going to take one person at a time. We won't be able to solve it, but we have to take the steps to move forward. And, you know, I don't know where it's all going to go. You know, I keep praying about it, but it just seems so real. That's what I could share. The tangible thing that we have is that we wear what they make. So what we decided to do was say, let's recognize these migrant workers. So then John Place, which is part of the board for PacRim, we said, well, why don't we do it on Chinese New Year? That's a perfect time, right? Everybody will leave the working place and go back home. But then what ended up happening is that we found out that in the year 2000, the United Nations recognizes a day on December 18th as International Migrant Day. Every time I hear that, I get goosebumps, because that validated what we're doing is real. That it's not just a made-up day that we thought of. It's actually a huge cause that's not just in China, but because 80% of product is made in China, why not start there? But we're hoping that it could move internationally. Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia. Build community centers that give the opportunity for migrant workers. Give them hope. Give them knowing that you could be loved on. And then training them and discipling them to be the leaders for tomorrow. So I just encourage all of you guys to just try to just resonate on the fact of how much we enjoy what people are making for us and how we just overlook that. So what we did is that we have a campaign that on December 18th, we want hopefully everybody in this room to give recognition to all migrants by wearing your shirts inside out like this, which we did. We made these shirts. I made these intentionally with light thread so you could see that it's inside out. And then there's a label here in the back that says faces behind the labels. Okay, I just want to let you know, before I launched this and we thought about it, you know what? I wore it inside out for 3 days. A regular shirt. You know how many people came up to me? 23 people came up to me within 3 days and said, did you know your shirt's inside out? and what opportunity was it for me to tell them what we're doing? How we're reaching out to migrant workers through community centers, through transformation. We're transforming hopelessness to hope through these community centers. That's the dialogue. Before, I wouldn't even be able to tell my mom and dad, what am I doing in China, because they didn't understand. But now when I explain to them that there's a story behind somebody that makes the products that we enjoy, and we're reaching out to them through their plight to their hope. So I hope that you guys all could understand where I'm coming from. Hopefully that you guys could resonate and kind of feel what I'm feeling. But it's real. And the stories that Chuck shared about Joshua and Grace, I know them.